that part of it's good. When I started out at Rocky Comfort, Missouri. That's the place that I began. I got the job there at that school because I was the only applicant for the job. I thought I got it because I knew something. I didn't know come here from Sikkim. I got hired because no one else wanted that job. And I still remember sitting in the superintendent's office, and he didn't know he had me. I had no other job. When you come out of the College of the Ozarks in Clarksville, Arkansas, you don't have a lot of people, beating your door down, because I think we'd won about 20 games in 3 years. And I know we played against Randolph Childress, and he'd got, I think, 42 points in one game and 32 in another. When he did that in those 2 nights, he made more points than I did my senior year in college. I made 64 in 26 games. So I was not exactly sought after by anyone. When I got there, the old man, he was just the oldest man you've ever seen. He was just trying to get by, and he was selling me on this job. I was going to make $4,250, and it was going to be good. He didn't tell me about driving the bus and all that other stuff. And he looks out the window, and he said, "You see that trailer down there?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Son, you can live in that trailer for as long as you're our ball coach." And I said, "Dadgum, I'm figuring that out. That's a lot of money." And he said, "Don't have to pay any rent. You don't pay for water, electricity, anything." And I said, "Fine." So I took the job. I went down there and cleaned that old trailer out. I got the job the day before school started, and I swept that old trailer out. It was 8 by 28. Now, if you can think about how small that is, 8 by 28, it was pink with a silver roof. It was the ugliest thing you've ever seen. You walked in the front room, took one step, and you're in the front room. You took a step this way, and you're in the kitchen. You took another step, and you're even with the furnace, and your next step puts you in the bedroom/bathroom. And your bathroom was a shower with a john in it. And you could just do a multitude of things at one time if you wanted to. Well, I cleaned that trailer up. I'll never forget, I cleaned that trailer up, and I thought, well, I'll take a shower and get to bed. Well, I jumped in that shower, and I woke up back on the bed. Because what happened was the guy had wired the house, didn't know what he was doing, and when you touched water and metal, you're back in bed. Well, I ended up that year, I couldn't ever figure out how to get it fixed because our janitor, Oven Kerr, whose famous words to me were, "I don't know nothing about electricity, I just wired it." Well, Oven says, "I can't fix it." I would get up in the mornings, and I had a broom handle. I was an old baseball player, and we had one of those, they turned it on with one of those deals like that. I would tap that thing. I got where I could get out of bed, go tap, tap, get in, that water would hit me, and I'd wash it. I never got under my arms or anywhere, because if you touch that thing, you're history. You're back in bed. I cleaned the front and a little of the back, and then I'd get out, and that's how I went to school every day. That first day of school, I'm in bed about 5:45, and I don't like getting up. There's a knock on the door. For any of y'all think you got it bad. And I went to the door. I thought, what in the world? And there's that old man standing there. And he said, "Boy, you've got to get up because you're driving the school bus." And I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "Son, you're driving the bus." I said, "Mr. Cameron, I can't drive a bus." He said, "You must have a hearing problem. You're driving the bus. I don't drive the bus. You drive the bus." We had 2 buses. And I said, "Where do I go?" He said, "Head out east of town, go 7 dirt roads, get the E Highway, turn around, come back, pick up everybody you can find." I didn't know how to drive a cart shifted. If you'd have heard me grinding them as I went out, clang, clang. Think about this. First day you're trying to establish discipline with little kids, and they're hollering, "Grind a pound out for me too, fatty," while you're shifting those gears. It was awful. But I drove that bus. I picked up everybody that belonged to Rocky Comfort and 2 that went to Stella, which was the next school I did, and I brought them in. Well, that was how I started out, and I did everything. I did everything at that school, and it was good for me, and I learned. But the second place I went, I learned more. The best lesson I've ever learned in coaching, or I think maybe in life. When we went there, the superintendent told us, this was a big school, 325, and he said, "We're having trouble with kids dropping out," and I was the assistant. And he said, "If y'all can think of something to do with kids in lower grades to keep them active and keep them coming to school, use sports, do it, I'd appreciate it." Well, we put a rule in that any kid who would come out for basketball would get to play. And any girl, we didn't have girls basketball, any girl, no matter what you look like, or a little boy if you wanted to cheer, would get to be a cheerleader. All you got to do is come to practice. Well, it worked out pretty good. Our 8th grade team, for you young coaches, had 13 guys that all, came out. We had 12 uniforms that matched. The 13th uniform, our colors were purple and gold. And you can't do a whole lot with purple and gold. And the guy who'd been there before me put big stripes on it. So one guy was going to look like a bumblebee. Well, I had the worst player. None of you in here have got a guy as bad as this guy. This is the worst player on this earth. His name was Doyle Swindle. And he looked like a Doyle Swindle. He was real white. Now, I have nothing against white people. White people raised me. But he was real white. And when Doyle would run, he would turn pink. And pink and purple and gold are just hideous. And he was skinny, and when you throw him a ball, it'd go through his little old paws and hit him, and it'd roll over, and he would run over and pick it up, and he's always out of bounds. Always out of bounds. Ugly. Ugliest kid you have ever seen. Had orange hair, had a flat top. It looked like, for you guys who have ever been in the country, an old dog that had mange, and you shave her back and rub that orange powder. That is the way Doyle's flat top looked. And he was very ugly. Now, I've told this story, I told it at graduation at Bloomfield. And Doyle's got kids. And a couple of people went, oh, like, how could you say that about Doyle? Hey, you're 13 years old and you're ugly. You know you're ugly. I mean, you've seen it. You got a mirror. You've seen some snapshots. I mean, this is not like a late-breaking news flash. Doyle just got ugly. This is an ugly kid. And I'm going to tell you this. You find an ugly kid and follow him home, 9 times out of 10 there's an ugly mom and dad sitting there waiting on him. Okay. Now, he's ugly, he's weak, he can't play, and not very bright. Not the brightest little scout I've ever had either. He's just, things weren't going real. The elevator didn't even go part of the way. It kind of shuddered and came back. This is not the guy you want to build your franchise on. Since I've been coaching, 1961, I have had one parent that ever said anything to me during a game. True story. It was his mama, Doris. She said, get him out. We're not far enough ahead yet. He was out there running around. All right, now that's how bad he was. Okay, plays his 8th grade year. Now, I don't know if y'all do this. We could have open gym. So what we do, we call all our guys in at the end of the year and give them an evaluation. I had a kid named Ronnie White, who's a high school coach in Springfield, Missouri now. All state's a sophomore. So we said, okay, Ronnie, he wanted to be Oscar Robertson. Okay, keep doing the stuff Oscar does. Carry a ball with you everywhere you go. Fine, out the door he goes. Had a center. Told him do some micing drills. Keep growing. Fine, out the door he goes. 2 forwards. Keep being good forwards. Brush your teeth, shoot some jumpers, have a good time. Have to be at school. We have open gym. You have to be there 3 days a week. It's open gym, but you have to be there if you're going to play. We ran through a whole team. We got to Doyle. Now, when you get to Doyle, you got a lot of things you can talk about working on, but you haven't got enough time. So we just said, Doyle, be like Ronnie White, okay? And he's going, yup, yup. Said, now, Doyle, if you miss open gym, you're not going to get to play. Okay. Well, you're thinking maybe he'll miss. What you really want to say to Doyle is, move to Dexter, the next town 5 miles away. But anyway, we tell Doyle that, okay. First day, we come in the east doors, hit the bang bar on the door, Doyle falls in. Every day that happened. We'd hit the door and hear Doyle just come tumbling in. He's there every day. He won't get sick. He won't miss. He's there every day. I cannot do this justice. But if you could see ours, we'd go in the lobby, we'd get Doyle in the door, Coach Hughley would go over to turn the lights on the gym, and I would get the rack of balls and roll them, and Doyle would grab one before the rack quit rolling. He'd bounce up those 3 steps, and you could hear him dribbling. He'd go, pat, pat, punt, down the floor. We had chairs sitting around the edge. Spang, it hit. You'd hear Doyle down there, spang, when he hit his head on it. Pat, pat, punt, spang, spang. If we hadn't turned the lights on, it could have gone on all day. Okay, 9th grade year. We had really good fans. Doyle doesn't miss a practice. Our fans would never boo, but when Doyle would check in, you could hear him go, like that. Because, this is scary. He got a little better, and he grew. He's probably 4'9" now. And you can still watch his temperature raise when he runs. His sophomore year, he still comes to every practice. He's on the B team. He's on the B team. We have a varsity, it's 34-1. I mean, it's a team, we can't even mess this team up. This is a good team. So Doyle is on the B team, and Dress is on the varsity. Well, everything in Missouri, what you got to do, you win a regional, then sub-state, and you go to the Final Four. Everything goes perfect. We win the regional by about 30. Everybody plays. Doyle even plays. We win the sub-state games, and the teams that we're scared of all get beat. And we look up, and we got to win one more game. We go to semifinals of state. It's a team we've beaten 27 points on their floor. So this is a mortal lock. I mean, there's no way we can lose. Except Ronnie White breaks up, the little guard, breaks up with Barbara Jean Bilderback and spends the night dribbling down the floor, watching her sitting up in the stands with some old boy with one of those blue Future Farmer of America jackets. I'm telling you, it's awful. He is nuttier than you've never seen. Guy asked me the other day if I ever thought of Barbara, and I said, yeah, I think I could gut shoot her to this moment. It wouldn't bother me a bit. Okay, he's gone crazy on me. Our center, Dennis Gillespie, the one that grew, he's 6'7", runs to the store for his mama, steps in the hole, sprains his ankle. 2 down. The 2 smart forwards I'm so proud of that start every game trotting under the basket and catching it and shooting it. Smack, run together. One of them doesn't play the game. He's out from the opening minute, and the other one's wandering around like a Bowery drunk. Well, 54 seconds to go. We're 5 behind. Ronnie White is criminally insane, dribbles the ball down the floor, stacks the whole Oran team up against the far wall, charge, 5th foul, out of the game. We take our last time out. School board's meeting. All their heads are going like that. That means we're out of work. I mean, you can see it all. And you look down the bench. It's about like looking over there. You look down the bench, you go, oh no. We got one guy left, Doyle. He's the only guy who hadn't been in the game that's not fouled out or hurt. And he's as happy as a lark. Now, we don't ever do this. It was the most negative timeout in the history of sports. Everything was Doyle. God, don't pick your nose. Don't scratch yourself. Don't wave at Doris. Don't. Doyle's sitting there going, yup, yup, yup. You know, he's happy. He thinks this is great. And I told you he wasn't the brightest. We said, Doyle, we look at the worst guy they got's number 22. Go guard 22. Yup, well, off he goes. Doyle runs out there, and he guards number 11. I assume the numbers remind him of each other. Well, he picks an all-state guard named Donnie Metz to guard. So your whole life is passing in front of your eyes. We got a kid named Phil Johnson who's got a brain who's saying, Doyle, you got the wrong guy. But Doyle thinks this is a trick, that the other team's talking to him and they're trying to trick him. Well, Doyle is not buying this. And he's in a defensive stance, and what you have when Doyle gets in a stance is a flat top, a nose, and some tennis shoes. I mean, he is there. Well, Donnie Metz is a coach now. I've never asked Donnie to this day what he's thought. But when he turns and looks at Doyle, I bet he thought, I better dribble around this before it gets on me. So he kind of starts up the floor. Now, Doyle remembers not to foul. He's not supposed to foul. Well, Donnie Metz is dribbling, and we're watching this thing, and they get about mid-court. Now, Doyle knows he's not, don't foul him, but he starts thinking, that ball looks pretty good to me. It's brand new, state tournament ball. It's orange, it's got the right amount of air in it, bounce is good. Well, Doyle takes a couple swats at it. I'll be darned if he doesn't steal it. Doyle steals the ball. Well, we jump up off the bench. Doyle, go, stop, a lot of good help. Doyle's heading for the other end. Now, there's nothing between Doyle and the basket but air. And there's no three-point shots in. So he'll go layer in, right? No. For reasons known to Doyle and the Lord, Doyle gets to the head of the circle, puts on the brakes, and launches it. Well, Donnie Metz is a little confused with this, chasing him, smack, rear ends him. The ball goes 80 miles an hour, splat, hits the backboard, and goes in. And we jump up like we teach guys to do that. Way to go, Doyle. Now, Doyle has got a free throw. In a game, this is all true, this is a true story. In a game, Doyle Swindle had never made a free throw. He'd made some in practice, but never in a game. Now, for those of you that can remember back, RCA Victor used to have a commercial where they had a dog that was looking, at a gramophone, one of those deals, and the old dog. That is how Doyle, that's how he line shots it. Here's a coaching pointer. You cannot yell out, rebound, he's going to miss it. It just sounds terrible. It's tacky. So you're saying stuff like, get your hands up, guys. Bend your knees. Well, the other team's coach is Gene Best. The guy that's won 3 national junior college championships. He's a good coach. His kids know. Long story short, they give it to Doyle. He fires her up. Of course, he misses. Ball rattles out of there crazy. 2 teams hit together. Ball bounces to Doyle. Any doubt what Doyle's going to do? Nah, shoot it. Zinger fires her up again. Splat, hits the backboard. Only going 40 because he didn't have a run at it. Goes in. Now we're down 1 with about 37 seconds. And we're up hollering, get the ball to Doyle. All right? Get it to Doyle. All right. They throw it in again. This is all true. They throw it in again, and Donnie Metz gets it. And I know he's thinking, I'm going to do just like Coach told me. He turns and looks at Doyle. Now, Donnie Metz could do everything with the ball that anybody could. I mean, he could really handle it. Before he starts up the floor, he spins, stutter steps, puts it behind his back, between his legs, starts up, charge, runs right over Doyle. Coaching pointer. You cannot fake a person who isn't paying any attention. Donnie Metz fouls out of the game. We win the game by 4 and go to the state finals. And Doyle Swindle, of course, is the hero of the game. And afterwards, there's a guy named Dave Dorr who writes for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Says if you would play that strange-looking little person for more than a minute, you'd win them all by 45 or 50 because he's a sight. The reason I like to tell it is more for young coaches. Doyle Swindle did as a sophomore. His junior year, he made All-Southeast Missouri. His senior year, he made All-State. He went to college, went to junior college at Tishomingo, Oklahoma on an athletic scholarship. The whole thing about it is I think we spend so much time telling guys what they can't do and all the things that are wrong. And I've seen it so many times in sports. We're in the one place, we're in the one thing where you still have dreams and where you can dream about things and things can come true for you. And hard work still pays off. And so if you've got some little kids, don't run them off. If you can find a way to keep kids involved and give them an opportunity. I'd love to tell you that we nurtured that little career right along. All we did is open a gym door and roll a rack of balls out. So I know it can happen. So I hope for you, particularly you young coaches, that you'll do that with kids. Give kids a chance to do stuff.